To start off with, we're going to begin with a prayer. So first we invite James and David up to the stage. They're going to go through our prayer today.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. As we begin our meeting this evening, we ask the Lord to help us. We need help to calm the worries of the day and bring ourselves just to this moment.
In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus teaches us, "You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hidden. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under the bushel basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to the Father in heaven."
Lord, send your Spirit upon us as we meet, talk and discuss. We ask that all we do, dream and hope for becomes your plan for us. As we listen tonight and make our decisions about our studies, may we remember our many gifts and choose wisely so that we can use these gifts in praise of God for his great glory. Saint Mary Champagne, Mary, good Mother, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
I would now invite Mr. Miller for the headmaster's address.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming out on such a wonderful night. I was very impressed when I was looking at you all coming in and looking at how dry you were, and I didn't see anyone come through with an umbrella. You just wanted to get the message they were all out the back. But thank you very much for coming along tonight. I know it's been a great night out there. Just with the Year 8 elective night, I'm sure Mrs. Keegan will talk more about it, but I would suggest they're going to pick 2 electives, and I think it's important for them to pick subjects that they want to do, not something they want to do with their friends or they're worried about the teacher they're going to get. I think they've just got to pick subjects that they're interested in and they want to do. And I think they can also experiment a bit because they're only going into Year 9 and 10. At the end of Year 10, you get to choose new electives again, and at that stage, then you have to get serious about your university and what you're going to do with it. But I'll leave that to Mrs. Keegan to talk about. The other thing I want to emphasise to you though, going into Year 9 and 10, the work that you do in 9 and 10 is going to affect what you can pick going into Year 11. The fact that we'll have boys doing various levels of maths going through, or they'll do various electives, the boys have to understand that they have to be working all the time during Year 9 and 10. It's not a time when you can just cruise through and hopefully at Year 10 I'll get my act together and I'll turn around and I'll be just fantastic in Year 11. It doesn't work that way. We need boys to be concentrating and turning up every day and working hard. When I look at attendance, I get a lot of letters from parents saying they're going to take children overseas at different times. Now I understand you'd rather take them in 9 than go in 11 and 12, but the more the young man is at school, every day he is going to have a better chance of academic success going into Year 11. And I think that needs to be emphasised to them. At the moment, I'm dealing with a boy who has only a 47% attendance rate in Year 7 this year. And I'm going to have to say to them, the fact that he has missed so many days, it really worries me about him going into Year 8 because he's missed so much material. I've also when I looked at his attendance, I noticed he has a lot of Mondays and Fridays off as well. And it's something I'm going to have to take up with the parents. And I'm sure they're not aware that he has a pattern of Monday and Friday absenteeism. Which leads me into my next point for you. I've spoken at the parent forums about the parent portal on Central. Central is our database, and we're going to open up a parent portal for you, which you'll find in the newsletter this week. And also there will be a letter posted on the website this week for you as well. It will give you instructions on how you can access the parent portal. We're cutting out the middleman so you can get into it. We won't need your son's help. And what it will give you access to is his attendance rates. So you'll be able to see the days he's been missing, the days he comes late. You'll be able to see the days where there has been no note returned to school. So you'll be able to track that sort of thing. The fact that a boy has every Monday off, you might not be aware of it because you're working and you think it's just a day in the week, but when you look at what I'll be able to show you on the parent portal, you'll be able to see patterns of attendance or patterns of absenteeism. That's the first thing you'll see from it. His medical details, there will be a sheet there that you can fill in and make sure it's up to date at all times. You'll be able to do that yourselves. The other thing you'll be able to access will be his reports. So the reports are on there for 2015 and 2016. You'll be able to go back in and access those. If you need to run off a report, you'll be able to do that at home yourself. The only thing you won't have on that run-off report will be my signature. But we will still issue the reports, but they're there for you to access as well. The other thing you will find on it will be his co-curricular activities. As you know, we give out the co-curricular certificates at the end of the year, and occasionally activities are missed, but you'll be able to check that yourself and make sure they're up to date with your son as well. Now that letter will go out on Friday for you, and to be able to access it you're going to need a code and you're also going to need an email address. I think that's the way it works from memory. I showed it at the parent forums. I was able to access it, and really if I can access it you can definitely do it. You will find that very easy to get at. But I think the information you'll get on that parent portal you'll find very useful as well. The other thing I wanted to bring you up to date on is the Learning Centre. You would have seen, I would have put in the last newsletter, that Momentum Build has started on that. The good news I've had from them since they've started is they'll have this Learning Centre completed by the end of November. So it will be ready for occupation next year. At the moment we're looking at furniture and various other things that are going to go in there, but I'm very pleased to say that the way things are going at the moment, we won't get held up by rain or any of this sort of thing because it's all internal, but it will be ready by the end of November, so I'm appreciative of that. The other thing that's happening that people have been asking about is the primary school. With the primary school, I've had a committee meeting recently about how that's going to go ahead. We're actually going to advertise for a head of junior school. The ad will go up on Teachers on Net this Friday, hopefully, and we will have interviews in either week 9 or 10 of this term, and I should be able to announce the head of junior school either at the end of the term or the first week back next term. I'm also going to call a meeting early next term, but people who are interested in putting their sons and daughters into that primary school, just so I get an expression of interest and give me an idea of how many children we're actually going to have come. I spoke to the principal who is starting a new school up at Lenza Park, and he was saying that a number of parents weren't going to go into that school because they had children in 3rd class and 4th class, and they didn't want to have a two-school drop-off. So I need to take those sort of things into account. So if you do have younger children and you are looking at going to the primary school, I will call a meeting in October or early November, and it will be to get information from parents who are interested in going into the primary school. The other thing that we will have early next term is the other parent forum. It's a vertical one, so it's parents from 7 through to 12. And at that forum, I'll be able to give you a lot more information on the primary school. I asked Noon, the uniform company up the top here, to design uniforms for us. So they'll be on the table as well for discussion, as well as a number of other things such as the plans and all that sort of thing we've done before. So that parent forum, especially the start of next term, will be very important from that point of view if you want to find out about what is happening. The last thing I'll tell you, the western entrance will be on tap for next year. I've spoken to Dart West about it. They are going to take over our terrace fields come the start of term 4. Then there will be a western entrance for the people coming from the Camden side of the college. We're going to do a lot of traffic re-engineering down around the farm there, and a new drop-off zone for the western people will be near those basketball courts next year. So that will open up then. The people coming from the east will still come in the eastern gate, still have the drop-off zone up to the top, but all the buses will be coming in from the east. They will still have to come all the way around until we get Gregory Hills Drive. Gregory Hills Drive is the one that will go right around the outside of the boarding houses. They tell me about August 2017. I'll see that to believe it. They keep moving that date all the time. But hopefully the dream is that 4-lane road from Gregory Hills Drive will connect at least by the start of 2018. Then we'll realign traffic, and I'll keep you up to date on those developments as we go along as well. Once again, thanks very much for coming on tonight. What Mrs. Coogan is going to say about elected is very important, and having those forms in by a certain date is very important if you want to get the elected that you do. I'll hand over to Mrs. Coogan.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for coming tonight. I can't believe how bad the weather is out there, but I'm sure you've had closer experience with it than I have. For those of you who don't know me, my job at the college is the Director of Teaching and Learning. I also teach maths, which is, I guess, my primary role in the college. My job tonight is to introduce you to the process of electives for next year, but also to have a little bit of a look at what the curriculum involves over the next 2 years. So in both years 9 and 10, which is referred to as stage 5, the boys have to study a number of mandatory subjects. So all of the year 9 and 10 gentlemen study religious education, English, mathematics, science, Australian history and Australian geography, and PDHPE. So that makes up the mandatory curriculum for stage 5. They will also do some work on careers, which will culminate in work experience in year 10, and that's integrated across the pastoral care program, in the PDHPE program, and also in parts of the English program. As I said, that leads up to work experience, but it's also important to look out for things like the Careers Forum, which Mrs. Dean organises in August each year, which is a wonderful opportunity to get a bit of a head start on careers. And we also, for some of our boys who perhaps are looking at leaving in year 10, at the end of year 10, we look at a transition to work program. With ICT skills, they are also integrated across the curriculum, so we don't teach those as a separate subject. For those of you with older children, you may be wondering about the school certificate exams, what's happened to them and why is there no longer any discussion about them. They actually ceased to operate in 2011 and have been replaced with the ROSA, which I'll speak about in a moment. Also in line with the withdrawal of the school certificate was the raising of the school leaving age to 17. That's a very important thing for you all to consider. We'll talk a little bit more about that in year 10, but it is important that your sons are at school until the end of year 10 at a minimum. The school certificate's been replaced by the Record of Student Achievement, or as it's fondly known, the ROSA. The idea with the ROSA is to allow students to include other things on their CV and not just their academic results. So there are opportunities for them to add things that they might do outside of school to that ROSA. There might be music grades that they do. Perhaps they belong to Scouts and have achieved different certificates. They might be involved in surf lifesaving and have got their bronze medallion. So the idea with the ROSA is that they can load up evidence of all of the things that they've been involved in, making that a much richer document that then they can send to potential employers. The other reason that that will become very important too is because the universities are all moving towards alternate entry schemes. So a really rich ROSA that shows a healthy involvement across a lot of curriculum areas, or a lot of extracurricular areas rather, will be a very useful tool for things like university entrance in the future. Students must do a number of things to be eligible for a ROSA. As I mentioned, they must complete year 10. They must also complete all of the mandatory curriculum requirements that I listed earlier to a satisfactory standard. And any other requirements that are imposed on the college by the Minister of Education, they must comply with those as well. The ROSA credentials are for school leavers. So if your son leaves school at the end of year 10, that will trigger a ROSA to be issued to you at your home address. If he continues on to year 11, He will have electronic access to what's on his rosa, but he won't receive the official documentation until he leaves school. So if he then goes on to year 11 and decides to leave school at the end of year 11, then that will trigger the award of a rosa, and that won't be sent to your home address. If your son decides to continue all the way to the end of year 12, he will get his rosa then with his HSC results on it. So his rosa will contain his grades for year 10, his grades for year 11, and his HSC results for year 12. Now, that is quite a new thing. In the past, when the school certificate was a standalone thing, if you had sort of a bad middle school experience, as in, you didn't work as hard as you should have, you could start again a bit in year 11. But now you've got to be really conscious of the fact that those grades that you earn in year 10 stay on your record of school achievement. So it's really important that you give it your best right from the start of next year to ensure that the rosa is as useful a document for you as it can be. I mentioned that it's important for you to stay all the way through to the end of year 10. You can access a transcript of your rosa at any stage during year 10. I'll take year 10 through that process the year after, of how to access that through students online. So for the award of grades in year 10, they are based on school-based assessment in all subjects. So in each of the subjects that you study, including the 2 electives that you pick up, you'll be awarded a grade from A through to E. The exception to that is in mathematics, where they break the A to D grades down into 2 levels. So for example, instead of just an A, you might earn an A9 or an A10. And what that does is just discriminates between the content that's available in the mathematics course. A number of you may have heard in the media that Mr. Pickley has announced quite considerable changes to the future HSC. Now, that will affect your sons. We haven't had a lot of information about this yet, and we will certainly make sure that we keep you filled in on any information that does come to hand. But what we do know at the moment is that the government will require a minimum standard in both literacy and numeracy. So they're indicating at this stage that that will be equivalent to a band 8 in the NAPLAN exam. So next year, when your sons are in year 9 and they sit for the NAPLAN exam, if they are able to reach a band 8 standard at that stage, they will have met the requirement for the award of the HSC with regard to literacy and numeracy. So obviously there's a whole lot of other things they have to do to get their HSC, but one of the new things is to meet that standard. Now, the government have also advised that for those students who are not able to meet that standard next year when they're in year 9, there will be available online regular opportunities to meet that standard. And as a college, we will obviously look at how we need to change what we do in terms of curriculum to ensure that that's the case, that all of our students will meet that standard. The Board of Studies has also promised a regular review of syllabuses, so more opportunities for students to master knowledge and skills. One of the current criticisms of many of the syllabuses is that there's so much stuff in it that it's really hard to actually get to do anything in depth. And so they're looking at that with the view to perhaps having a little bit more space for students to actually explore things in greater detail. For those of you who are interested in science, and I know that there are some very capable science students in this grade, there will be a science extension available when you're in year 12. There are some details about that will involve a research project in an area of your choice. So for our budding scientists, that's fantastic news. The board has also indicated that there will be more rigorous guidelines for school-based assessment, and that there will be a reduction in the number of assessment tasks that are required to be completed for Year 12. They're also looking at redesigning some of the HSC exam questions. You've probably read in the media that there is some concern that a number of those areas have become quite predictable and so are not really a test of students' knowledge, rather their ability to remember rote things. Another thing that I'm personally very pleased about is that there will be a common scale for the study of mathematics, and that will ensure that if you are studying mathematics at a higher level, you get credit for that in your HSC. That's an area that I won't go into today, but there has been some concern about that in the HSC in the recent past. Okay, so where have we been so far with the elective process? Ms. Keir and her team have been doing some work with you on reviewing how you performed in semester 1 and a bit of a focus on the things that you're interested in and the things that you could do to improve. One of the other things that we have done is that each of the KLA coordinators spoke to, or each of the KLA coordinators who have electives on offer spoke to your sons. And I would have to say there was uniform agreement from all of the heads of department that they were the most amazing group of boys to address. Their attention was fantastic. I actually had one of my coordinators say that he thought their attention was much better than Year 10 when we spoke to them. So I did congratulate the boys on the day, but they were really outstanding in their willingness to sit and listen and to ask intelligent questions. Those coordinators who spoke to them will be available again tonight if you would like to ask them some particular questions about the electives your sons are interested in. So we're going to ask you to choose 2 elective subjects for Years 9 and 10. We will ask you, however, to choose 4 subjects, just in case there are some clashes or one of your subjects doesn't run. It's really important that you choose them in order. So the thing that you want to do most should be at number 1. Okay, that's really, really, really important. We don't often have to go to 3rd and 4th preferences. Sometimes, as I said, you might end up with your 2 subjects on the one line, but we will consult with you and with your family before we move to 3rd or 4th preferences. Another reason perhaps that you won't get your first or second choice might be that there are insufficient numbers to run a class. We obviously need a base number to get started with. I've mentioned the subject line clash, and occasionally we just have too many applicants for a class. It's really important that you consider carefully what you want to do. You need to study those electives for 2 years, and once we've begun Year 9, there's no changing electives. So that's really, really, really important. Make sure you've taken some time to choose things that you're really genuinely interested in, things that you're going to enjoy. Mr. Miller mentioned that this is a really good time to do that. You don't have to do anything in particular in Years 9 and 10 in the lead up to Years 11 and 12. The one exception to that is that if you are interested in studying a language at a higher level in Years 11 and 12, you must study that language in Years 9 and 10. So in terms of the process, make sure you get as much information as you can. We've already had the KLA's coordinators speak to them. The booklet has been available on the website, on Sky Blue and on Central for some weeks now. But another really important source of information would be to speak to some of our current Year 9 and 10 students. They'd be able to give you a lot of information about what they've found good about the course. Also important to discuss with your parents what you would like to do. You can check out the Board of Studies website. In New South Wales, all the syllabus documents are available on the Board of Studies website, and you can read about what you will do in Years 9 and 10. But it is important that you are your own man. On a practical level, be your own man, because you may decide that you'd like to do your electives with your friends, but that may not work out that way. We generally have, 2 or 3, usually 3 timber classes. We usually have two or three past classes. We have a couple of photography classes and IST. So please make sure that you choose your subjects based on what you really want to do. I mentioned that you don't need to worry about electives in terms of years 11 and 12, with the exception of languages. And Mr. Mellon mentioned in his introduction that it's really important also to consider how you are going in years 9 and 10 when we look at subjects for years 11 and 12. We've just been through that process with our year 10 students, and there have been some changes to things like university entrance. So if you are keen on doing any of the subjects I have listed, so higher levels of English and Maths, physics, chemistry, economics or software design, you really need to work very hard and to show us what you can do in the next 2 years. Those forms that went out tonight are due back to Ms. Kia on the 31st of August, which is next Wednesday. And we will let you know very early in term 4 what electives you have got. I know I don't expect you to be able to read that, but the electives that we do have on offer for 2017, agriculture, and Mr. Harrison is here tonight if you would like to speak to him about agriculture. From the HSIE department, we'll be offering next year both commerce and a new subject called International Studies. Now, International Studies is a combination of history and geography. So Miss Martin is here tonight and she can talk to you about both commerce and international studies. If you're interested in international studies, if you could just write that on your form. Unfortunately, I had the forms printed a little bit early. We'll also be offering from the TAS department graphics, timber, metals, electronics and engineering. And Mr. O'Flynn is here tonight if you would like to find out about any of those. From the languages department, we offer Italian. Also, that department, which is run by Ms. Jackson, we offer information software and technology. And Ms. Curry is here tonight if you would like to speak to her about either of those subjects. The other thing that Ms. Curry can help you with tonight is if you're interested in studying a subject through what's referred to as the language high school now. So if you're interested in a subject other than Italian, it is possible to study that by distance education. So you could speak to Ms. Curry about that tonight. Just like to warn you that there is a cost associated with that. From the Visual Arts Department, we offer both photographic and digital media and straight visual arts. And Ms. Frantz will be here tonight to speak about that. We also offer music. Unfortunately, Mr. Malone is not well tonight, so if you've got any questions about music, I'm happy to answer those tonight. And finally, hopefully I haven't left anyone out, Mr. Bingham is here to speak to you tonight about physical activity and sports studies. Okay? Thank you so much for your attendance tonight. If you have any questions at all, I'll certainly be around at the end of the night, as well as standing in for Mr. Malone. I'm happy to take any other questions that you've got. I'm now going to hand over to our Director of Boarding, Mr. Matt Spencer. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, boys. Being at a boarding school, obviously don't apologise about any opportunity to come and talk to you about that, to encourage you to give it some thought if you have already, or if you've never considered looking at boarding for an option here at St Gregs. Some of our closest postcodes now, we've actually got our first boarder from Gregory Hills, so, and a few of the boys here tonight obviously are our own Year 8 boarders. I say why boarding? Because I think it is a unique offering at this school. We're the only boarding school in South West Sydney. And so because it's available, It's an investment in your sons. And I say that it's an investment in their spiritual, physical and social well-being. I say spiritual, Thursday singing practice we do and Sunday Mass, obviously the pinnacle of that. But we have morning prayer in the houses each morning as well. And these are all opportunities for the boys to express themselves and express their spirituality. And they enjoy getting involved in that, especially in altar serving at Mass and reading, taking up the offertory, all that sort of stuff. It's an active lifestyle. The boys are often out and about, running around every afternoon. And of course, there's sporting opportunities there for the boys as well. Obviously Thursday sport, which they have in school anyway, but we also have Saturday sport, which a lot of the day boys get involved in as well, and it's no surprise that that's where a lot of the boys first get the idea of trying boarding, and that's where a lot of the boys come from. They talk to the boys, get to know them, get a taste of it, and think actually this is all right, and that's where a lot of our boys come from. Living in community itself, I think, is an excellent opportunity for your sons. It's a chance to get to know boys from all over country New South Wales, but perhaps more importantly, it's a chance for your sons to get to know themselves better and how they interact with people and how they relate to others. It's one of the great benefits I see in boarding, and that sense of independence. You heard Mrs. Keegan talk about being your own man, boys. Well, this is an opportunity where you do have to experience independence and making decisions and making good decisions every day for yourselves and getting yourselves organised. And that's something that boarding offers that is an intangible of boarding. Obviously, one of the main reasons is to increase your academic potential. We track all the students' results, and that's something that will go through from year 7 through to 12 through each of our boarding coordinators to be able to see where your sons are at, where the weaknesses are, where the strengths are certainly, but mainly where those weaknesses are and where we can help them improve in those areas. Obviously, it's all about structure we provide. There are 7 families that live on site, 14 full-time staff that live in residences on site, and there's over 30 staff in total that work with the boys. And most of them are teachers from the school. Routine, because routine works. It's often a battleground at home, obviously, with the busy lives we all have, trying to maintain that and trying to keep the boys working and doing their homework and getting their assessments done on time instead of the last night, all that sort of thing. So we have that routine boarding simply because it works. It's a good balance, free time, study, and plenty of activity for them as well. Supervised study sessions each night. There's tutors provided as well. There's no choice for the boys whether they don't feel like doing their homework or not. They just have to go over the road. Mr. Hawkins did debate tonight whether he'd bring them over in the rain. I said bring them over because they've got to come over for dinner anyway. He went soft on them and let them study in the house tonight, but he learned his lesson and it stopped raining at 5 to 5. The last thing I've got up there is mateship, and that's because you're asking the boys, that's the thing they say first about what's the best thing about boarding. They'll say the sense of mateship and the mates for life that they'll get and they have for years well beyond this place. So that's what the boys often say when you ask them, and that's why often, as I said, those boys join up with play Saturday sport with them because they get that interest and they form those bonds. I'm available tonight. I'm available at all times, any time, day or night. I live here at the college. Please feel free to come and have a chat anytime. Give me a phone call, drop me an email. Happy to show you around. A lot of boys have lived with a lot of families have never even seen the boarding houses. Very happy to show you that. And also understand that if your boy wants to come on, we do that as a trial. It's a trial from our end and from your end as well. So it's not a sign up for life sort of thing. If you come and give it a go and you think, no, that's not for me, that's fine too. We work that out. Happy to say that most of the boys tend to love it and leave you in tears at the end of year 12. So happy to see you there tonight. Thank you for your time tonight. I'll hand back to Ms. Keir for her address.
So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we do with Year 8 in terms of pastoral care, and a lot of the things that we do. I guess that's the main part of my job here as year coordinator, but also that comes along with the assistance of the Year 8 home team. So our motto for this year was making the right choices, and the aim is to encourage our boys to make positive decisions in all facets of their lives, so whether it be at home, in the classroom, in the playground, on the sporting field or as part of the community. And some of the ways that we do that is through our pastoral care program. So up there you can see a few of the things that we look at in our pastoral care program. So goal setting and evaluating ourselves is something that they would have done at the very start of term 1. They would have looked back at their results from last year and set themselves some goals for this year. Obviously, as we spoke about with their preparation for subject selection, they've also been asked to have a look back over their report from the first semester and look at the things that they are doing well and the things that they could be improving upon and how that might set them up and help them choose subjects for next year. We've had a pastoral care lesson in the lead up to the first semester exams that was to do with study skills, and we looked at time management. There will also be another pastoral care lesson on study skills in the lead up to the semester 2 exams, and that one will be focusing on active studying. So that also covers organisation as well, because we're including time management into that, and they use that time in homeroom in the morning to get organised for the day. So they're making sure that their diary is filled out, their homeroom teacher is checking their diary to make sure that they're using it properly, those sorts of things. The boys also went on their Boys to Men retreat day at Stanley Tops, which looked at things like leadership and teamwork. So a lot of the opportunities and activities that were offered that day encouraged them to engage in activities where they could show leadership or work as part of a team. And you can see up there some of the activities that they did on that day. We also look at cyber safety as part of our pastoral care program. Obviously, with the move with social media and that becoming a really big part of young people's lives these days, it's really important that we talk to the boys about cyber safety. So one of our teachers here, she actually comes in and does a pastoral care lesson with them, and they look at things like being safe whilst using social media, who are the people that we are actually talking to on social media. Our counsellor also comes in and does a session that looks at bullying and resilience. We look at things like how to be a positive bystander or a helpful bystander. So if you are witnessing that kind of behaviour, what you can do to actually help, as well as ways to react in those situations and help build resilience. We also look at we have a few people from outside the college come in, and the boys get to experience some different performances. So we have Brainstorm Productions coming, as well as another Zeal Theatre group that perform a presentation called Stones. So the boys haven't seen Stones yet, but they have seen the Brainstorms program. And in that we look at things like harassment and peer pressure, as well as it also kind of touches on that idea of cyber safety in the Brainstorms program as well. So those two performances, actually the boys get to see different scenarios, how people act in those scenarios and the consequences of that. So again, it links back to our motto of making the right choices. So they're actually able to see how those choices can affect outcomes. Some of our mums here would have got to have seen the benefits of our PC lessons that rotated around manners and etiquette. So we obviously had our etiquette evening earlier this term, and there you would have actually seen how the boys interacted with their mums or their significant females in their lives, as well as each other, and hopefully they learnt some manners and etiquette that they got to put into practice that night. And then obviously all of these things link back to making the right choices, and obviously they link with tonight as well. So as Mrs. Keegan mentioned, there have been some pastoral care lessons that are aimed at our subject selection. So like I said, having a look at how they've gone previously, how they think they learn best, where they like to spend their time. So do they like to work outside? Do they like to work standing up? Do they like to sit at a desk? Those sorts of things. Thinking about that, and then how that might reflect on the sorts of subjects that they like to do. And again, as you mentioned, we've had the KLA coordinators come in as well to help them with their choices so that they can actually see what the subject is about as well. As I mentioned, so some things that have been happening lately, we've had the Mums and Sons Etiquette Evening, so you can see up there a couple of photos from that evening. Really successful evening, first time that we've done it in the hall, and that was, you know, I've had a lot of positive feedback about that, so lots of fun as well. And also, as mentioned, I've been working towards our subject selections. Coming up, there's a few things. So as you may know, the College Photo Day is this Friday. We have the Mass of the Feast of St Gregory on the 2nd of September. There is a History Geography excursion next Wednesday, and following that, early next term, we have the co-curricular evening. So, I'm just going to, it's not working for me, there we go. So, Mrs. Keegan has already introduced the staff that are going to be around if you have any questions that you would like to discuss in relation to the subject selection. So, I think it's, there you go, there's a little list there for you. So they'll be located around the two edges of the room. So if you have any questions that you would like to discuss in regards to subject selection, please make sure that you go and see them, because they're the guys that have all the answers for you. And lastly, I would like to thank you so much for attending tonight and taking an interest in your son's education at St Greg's. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. If you'd like to speak to the coordinators, that would be great.